our keynote for the day, titled Storytellers of Today and Tomorrow: How Indian Language Companies Will Enrich and Prosper in the Global Content Revolution. And our speaker is Robert Martin, CEO, Magic Beans Academy. An absolute expert in solving problems for LSPs, he also conducted an insightful workshop just yesterday here at IHC. Incredible deep dive into the opportunities that the Indian language companies have in this digital age. So let's welcome Robert to take us on a journey into the future of storytelling through localization.
Good morning, New Delhi.
Good morning.
How are we? So, I am super excited to be here. I've come about 8,000 kilometers to see you guys. My first time in India. This is my first Monday morning in India. Is it the first time for anybody else here? A couple of people? Fantastic, so I'm not the only one. I have been to a lot of the associations that Sudheen mentioned, the partner associations. I came from the ATC event last week. I was there on Wednesday and Thursday. But I have to say, I've been to the ATC, I've been to Elia, I've been to numerous Loquworlds, I've been to TACOM, I've been to Gala, I've been to a lot of them over the course of my career. As you'll see a little bit later, my career is longer than I look, I hope. But I was really struck last night at the sheer warmth and energy and sense of community that I saw in the welcome reception for the Citlob guests and delegates. And I want to ask you all to give a round of applause to Sudheen and Jadushi and Madhu and the entire group for the fantastic organization of this event. I was super impressed. I've never felt that kind of atmosphere before. And I'm going to go around telling the rest of Europe about it for the next year. Hopefully that already gets me an invitation back for next year. Let's see. So, storytelling. We have a little button there. Why is storytelling important? Well, of course, we know storytelling is important. It's about the stories that about where we come from, what's happened to us along the way, about where we are at the moment, and about where we're going. It's also the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. Am I capable? Am I able? Do I have the ability to survive in this cruel capitalistic world? Do I have the ability to evolve to the changing needs of the market, to the changing needs of the clients? So the stories that we tell to ourselves are extremely powerful. And of course, with the right internal confidence, the right attitudes, we're invincible. We can do anything. It also works a little bit on the level of what we do as an industry. We're essentially storytellers. We help companies, brands reach the hearts and minds of buyers, decision makers, whether we're selling to consumers or to enterprises. Essentially, we're providing content and language solutions which help them tell their story. So I felt that storytelling was a good place for us to start. And we're going to talk about how you guys are going to prosper and seize the opportunities that are going to come about in this, what we're calling a global content revolution. You could equally say global language revolution, a global storytelling revolution. So it also gave me a drop-off point to talk a little bit about the parallels of where I come from, a little tiny little country called Ireland, which is a little island on the east coast of the Atlantic. Our next neighbor as you go across is the United States, all the way over at the Atlantic. And the parallels between Ireland and India, apart from both being very close to each other in the dictionary. So both of our cultures have had traditional storytellers, people who came from town to town, village to village, passing on oral traditions, teaching us lessons of you know, entertainment value, to make us laugh, to make us cry, but also to teach us, you know, moral stories and moral lessons as well. And I thought it would be interesting just to compare a little bit the similarities and differences between our two countries. And of course, one of those is, of course, the localization industry. So you can see already from our flags, we have quite similar tastes in color. And again, just to do a little comparison before we kind of move on with the presentation, you can see that the population of Ireland, as of now, as of today, is less than 0.5% of the population of industry. So we are tiny. We're a tiny, tiny country in the grand scheme of things. And again, the land area is about 2% of the land area of India. And you can see the population density, etc. as well. But in some ways, we've traveled similar journeys. We've both had a colonial past, let's say, and as both of those countries were trying to escape that colonial past, they exchanged a lot of correspondence and politically gave each other a lot of support. Our constitutions share a lot of similarities as well, and there was, let's say, a lot of writing going on about the common enemy at the time. But of course, having that common enemy or that common contact with the English language really has changed our destinies indelibly. You know, I mean, we can't deny it. The effect has been quite different. In Ireland, for example, we only had one language, Irish or Gaeilge. And unfortunately, it really, really did suffer under, you know, English rule. And, you know, even though there's a revival at the moment, it's more popular again in schools, we kind of lost the language. You know, even though we have Irish TV stations and we have to learn it in school, etc., it would be very difficult for me to stand here and talk to you guys in Irish. Whereas here in India, you guys have maintained your linguistic diversity. You have the 22 official languages and many, many more languages and variants and dialects, you know. One of the other trajectories that we've shared is that we both kind of skipped this move from primary industries such as agriculture into manufacturing or secondary industries. We both kind of skipped that step and went very quickly to a service-based economy or a knowledge-based economy. So both Ireland and India made that leap very, very quickly. And I'll talk about my own kind of relationship to that in a moment. But essentially you can see we have similar growth rates, for example. Both of us still have relatively young, relatively educated populations. And we're now in life sciences, basically. So these are kind of similarities. Of course, you guys are so much more diverse here, you know? Although in theory, we're still both dominated by one predominant religion, you know, Irish Catholic, Roman Catholicism, Irish Catholicism, and Hindu here. So I thought it would be interesting just to start by looking at the parallels and the contrasts, and also to tell you a little bit about where I came from, you know. And you're probably saying, who is this guy, this white person coming over here to India to talk to the Indians about how the Indians are going to be so wonderful? Which is a little bit risky, really, when you think about it. So my name, again, is Robert Martin. I was 45 this year. I was actually at a conference with Biraj during my 45th birthday. So I am what they call a Celtic tiger cub. I was one of this generation who very much benefited from the transformation that Ireland underwent from a very Catholic, very subdued, very agricultural country to one which embraced everything. We embraced the European Union, we embraced investment from the USA and Canada, we embraced things like the localization industry. And indeed, when the Irish government were looking for investment for the country, they really courted large US entities like Microsoft, like Oracle, like Apple. They brought them to Ireland to open their European headquarters. They gave them very low corporation rates of tax, and also they didn't charge them VAT on software exports within the European Union. And so because we spoke English and because we were like reasonably okay educated, and we were probably a little bit cheaper than the people in the USA at the time, a lot of these big US companies came to Ireland and created their localization centers. So you had all of these big US companies and other nationalities, of course, who started importing lots of Europeans to help with the translation and localization. And they would all work together during the week, and it was kind of, you know, a lot of young people having a good time in one sense. And they would all go to the pub every Thursday and Friday and Saturday night. And so now we have a lot of marriages and couples that are Irish, French, Irish, Spanish, Irish, Italian, you know, and it's really added to our own diversity in the country. But again, we had this localization industry which grew up in Ireland. We were very much a center for localization. And actually, I feel now that India really has taken over the baton, because as time has progressed, as India's policies have changed as well, as people realize that India is so capable, is so competent, is so powerful, that they were able to move a lot of operations to India. And hopefully some of the people in this room have learned to benefited from those changes as well. So Celtic Tiger Tub, I think Celtic Tiger Cub even, and Tub, I think I was kind of cute when I was younger. I was very much an introvert. So I was one of these kids who preferred to read and not talk to people, to the chagrin of my parents, who were always trying to make me talk to other people. And so it's a little bit ironic now that I work in sales and marketing and I'm speaking like this at events. So if I stumble, bear with me. And of course, because I was an introvert and I liked reading, I developed a love for literature and language. Again, remembering that at the time, Ireland was receiving a lot of money and a lot of funding from the European Union. And so we were told, oh, learn French, learn Spanish, learn German, it's going to be good for your career. And me being a good obedient son, that's what I did. So I studied languages and literature. My course was called Languages with Computing. It was in the University of Limerick, where they had the Localization Research Centre, which was run by a guy called Reinhard Scheler. I don't know if any of you maybe have come across him. And basically I graduated and there was a job for me straight away. People came to the university and recruited, and off I went to France. My first job was with a company which was acquired by a company which was acquired by another, which was acquired by another, which is now Accolade. Then I went to work for a US company called Simultrans, who celebrated their 40th birthday last week, or a couple of weeks ago. And then worked with various other companies, including LanguageWire, ULG, Alchemy Catalyst. Does anyone ever remember Alchemy Catalyst? So I was the European sales manager for Alchemy Catalyst. And they were acquired by TransPerfect. So I got to see the massive machine that is the TransPerfect sales team. And finally, then I ended up also selling in WeLocalize, which was a great experience as well. So most of my experience was in selling, whether to new business customers, enterprise clients, or growing existing accounts in these enterprise accounts. So I've been working in sales and marketing basically since I graduated back in 2001. Hopefully you can't see it on my face, but yeah, I've been working for that long. I started Magic Beans agency. Hopefully you get the Magic Beans reference. So Magic Beans helping you to grow. The idea being to bring my experience from the larger companies and to help smaller language service providers to grow and to thrive. And now we've kind of updated our mission statement to say to help people and companies within the language industry to thrive and prosper, basically. So originally it was very much focused on sales and marketing, and that's still my focus. But now we're about 10 people helping LSPs and some enterprise clients to grow and transform. And so we provide solutions around technology, which of course is huge at the moment, talent or vendor management, we're calling them the talent now, sales and marketing, quality solutions, life sciences solutions, etc. And so one of the things that we're getting into right now, of course, is AI. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but we're starting a course next week which focuses on upskilling smaller language service providers to be not afraid of AI and to start implementing AI. And this is one of the things that I've really noticed since I've come here. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but I'm super impressed by how comfortable everybody here seems to be with the concept surrounding AI. And I know it's not the same for everybody. I know there's lots of different people in the room who come from different backgrounds and have different comfort levels, but overall I've been very impressed. Another note about me, again, I said I was a reader, and I was a bit of an Indophile or an Indiophile as a kid. So I was one of these kids who read Around the World in 80 Days and was enchanted by the Indian princess and the journey on the elephant through the jungle, or things like The Jungle Book or the Willard Price Tiger Adventure. And then as I got older, books by Salman Rushdie, Q&A, A Suitable Boy, etc. So I've been reading about India for a long time, and that's why when I was invited to come here to speak this morning, it was just impossible to say no. I said yes straight away. I couldn't not take the opportunity. Unfortunately, I only have a short trip this time, so I'm hopeful that you'll invite me back next year to next year's conference as well. Let's see. But I was very conscious that I was the outsider coming over here to talk to you guys who, you know your reality very well. You know your story, I guess. But I think one of the things that is important to remember is to know how your story looks to the outside world, and what are the things that you guys need to be emphasizing to the outside world, whether they are international clients who are coming here to India to sell, or they're international clients who want to invest, or they're international partners that you want to work with. So again, I felt that I needed to do my research, and I spoke to maybe 8 of you. Some of you are here in the audience, and different business owners of different sizes, to learn what you felt was the real reality. And of course I learned lots of things, the typical Indian facility with languages, the fact that the 22 official languages, everybody speaks a couple of languages, which is both a blessing and a curse, right? Because it's a blessing because you have these linguistic skills, you can communicate across different groups and communities, but it's a curse perhaps because we become complacent and we say, so what? Or the customer says, so what? You speak a language, big deal, And that's something we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail. I have seen India as a hub for Asia and South Asia. I think that's the case. Maybe you guys can agree or disagree with me. But just as Ireland was producing, 40 plus languages in the 80s and 90s, I see India as a place that can produce all of the languages for South Asia, but also further afield. And I'm sure that's happening, now in the bigger companies probably. And I think that trend is going to continue. One of the things that I think you guys have as an advantage over many other nations is this massive emphasis on what we call STEM subjects, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And again, you guys know this. I know in India it's like you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. My mother was a judge, by the way, so I empathize. I was encouraged to go that direction as well. But not every country has this focus on these subjects. Not every country has these amazing technically understanding people who are able to put their minds to problem solving. In Ireland and the UK, for example, you've probably read articles about the UK, and they're really struggling to teach simple things like mathematics and sciences, And I guess they're probably, coming over here saying, come and work in the UK, come and live in the UK, even though they're trying to throw all the Europeans out. But that's a different story. And again, I feel like this emphasis on technology, on engineering, on mathematics, is reflected in some of the wonderful technology providers that we've seen in the translation industry. And I know some of them are going to speak today. So we've spoken to some of them yesterday, and you know, I'm super impressed. I'm not a technologist. I like to think I understand a technology. I'm also not an economist. I'm a salesperson, which means I'm an optimist, right? Because sales is the only, you know, profession where you get 9 no's every day, and that's just part of the job. Where you're rejected every day and you have to get up and do the work, and getting all of those no's is a good thing because it brings you closer to the yes eventually, you know. But again, this tech innovation, which then, you know, we see in different fields like AI, cloud computing, LLMs, voice processing, voice technology, etc. And of course, the support of the Indian government for rolling out of 5G technology has been really impressive as well, and I think it's going to mean great things. And the concept of, let me try to pronounce this correctly, jugaad, this ingenuity, this inventiveness, this innovation from very simple, very frugal concepts, which again, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. But also I think sometimes we need to throw more at the problem. You know, maybe not just rely only on our jugaad, but also bring in more talent, more resources. Because I think beyond a doubt, we are in challenging times, right? I think most of us will agree on that in the room. There are challenges, yeah, and this is why, again, the story that we're talking about is it's our individual stories as people, it's the stories of our companies and where our companies are going to go, and it's the story of us as an industry and as a country. I had a little look at the size of the industry in India. I was interested to see that there was over 800 localization companies, but about 500 of those are 10 people or less. And I've spoken to a lot of small company owners in Western Europe, and I know their fears and their anxieties around technology and around change. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this course next week. But I imagine that the smaller companies in India share a lot of the same fears and anxieties, you know. Maybe they don't understand the concepts quickly enough, or they don't have the resources to hire tech people so that they can revolutionize what they're doing. But there's a solution to everything. I always say, you know, don't give me your excuses, give me your results. But I say there's a solution to everything. You just need to ask the right questions. I did notice as well, there was a lot of colleges and universities offering language-related courses. However, very, very few offering courses specifically tailored to the localization industry. And I think that could be maybe a little bit of a problem and maybe a little bit of an opportunity as well, in terms of, you know, us being able to offer more education in terms of what we need at this time. And I think you guys will agree, we always need talent. You know, we always need new people, young people, can I say cheap people as well? But we also need people who don't have this historical legacy of what the localization should be or was 30 years ago, or who doesn't really care about the pricing model that Microsoft or Lionbridge created like 30 years ago. You know, we need people who don't have that history to help us evolve and position ourselves in the future. So I do believe there might be a few training gaps. And I also wonder, does that apply to sales and marketing? We had a couple of workshops yesterday, obviously, when we talked about sales and marketing. And I think there's a high level of confidence in terms of the people that you guys have. But I also think there's an opportunity to learn from people outside of India or that are selling in different ways, in different verticals, and different styles. Because make no mistake, the way we sell, the way we market to people, the way we talk about ourselves as well is also a differentiator. So again, if we have 800 localization companies here in India, if we all talk about ourselves in the same way, it's going to be very difficult for us to differentiate ourselves. So I'd encourage people to have a think about that. So yeah, I did a little bit of research. I did as much as I could within the time that I had. And it became clear that, some of the challenges that, you guys face here are universal, So I've listed some of them here on the board. So the AI wave. Is it a wave? Is it a bubble? Is it a game? I don't know. Is it going to burst? It doesn't really matter. We have to engage with this wave no matter what we think, because it's out there. The media is talking about it. The clients are talking about it. The clients are expecting us to use AI. Okay, we've been using AI in neural machine translation, for example, already. We've been using AI in different forms as it is. But now it's almost like you can't offer a solution without mentioning the word AI, right? So AI needs to be, 30 minutes? Okay. AI needs to be ingrained in everything we do. You also suffer the massive influence of the tech giants who decide to start spending or stop spending at any given moment. And similarly with the super LSPs who have a lot of influence over the smaller LSPs. That's something that I don't really like. They're driving the price of the words down all of the time, making things more difficult for smaller language service providers, making things super difficult for the linguists as well. The invaders, so these tech companies who are here, who are innovating, who are bringing solutions, and then we need to decide, are we competing with these companies or are we partnering with these companies? So we'll take DeepL as an example, who just received 300 million in funding. And you can tell they're really going for the kind of the simple office enterprise style content that communications managers or internal kind of usage projects, which would have been outsourced previously, is now going to be done by DeepL, because they're very trusted in Europe. This polarization between the groups, the rows, the hate, the haters on LinkedIn, the rows with the translators against the LSPs and the tech companies. We need to look after our translators. We need to look after our professions. The oversimplification of the challenge. So someone said yesterday, translation is now free. So what is it that we offer? We have to articulate what we do in a different way. We have to articulate the challenges in a different way. Changes, of course, and evolution of expectations of processes, and the struggle to define ourselves and differentiate ourselves. I think it's fair to say that language alone is not going to be a differentiator. We have to add more services, more value adds, whether it's software engineering, whether it's technology, whether it's copywriting, whether it's SEO, SEM, whatever it might be. We have opportunities to do this. And of course, we have to continue to educate these buyers. These buyers think that they know everything. How many buyers are in the room? Not too many? Good. One or two. Okay. But they think they know everything. They think they're the experts. We have to remind them, no, the experts are here in this room. So there's different things that we need to do. I'm gonna, you can see what I've said here. I'm gonna skip the slide in the matter of expediency, but the four main pillars that we need to work on: talent, education, technology, and sales and marketing. Now, the opportunity, again, I'm not an economist, I'm an optimist, but you guys will know this stuff better than me. And Sudine already mentioned some of this stuff this morning. Change is the only constant, okay. 60% of the population is 35 or younger. That trend is going to continue. It's going to increase. This mastery of English and the focus on tech topics means that India will continue to be attractive for FDI. That represents both challenges and opportunities, right? It's a growing consumer market in India, which will need to be supported via content, because again, everything we do, everything that we use to sell to our customers or communicate with our internal employees is content. They will have growing savings and investments as well, which they will invest in different parts of the economy. They're going to need education and employment. People told me last night how competitive the job market is, how difficult it can be to get a good job, and how education is so important in that journey. But I think there's an opportunity for the localization industry to provide both, to provide more courses about what it is we do, whether it's in terms of AI or a language or other services. And of course, to employ people, we need more new blood, like I said before. The young population can be more adaptable to tech changes, and also I feel will drive innovation and entrepreneurship. And if you compare it to Europe, for example, in Europe our population is declining. The cost of employing people, as Biraj will probably tell you, is super high. And the cost of living is going up everywhere. And this is an existential problem that we're facing, because people are trying to drive down the prices, but the price of living everywhere is going up, you know? And I have to say, my impression is that in Europe, we're much slower and more resistant to change than you guys over here. I get the impression you guys are very nimble, very quick to react over here. The demographic trends are echoed around South Asia. And again, like all of these markets represent growing consumer markets to some extent, whether they're, let's call it working class, middle class, upper class. But many of these huge populations are growing, and also are very young populations. And again, I see India as the center, the hub, where you guys can provide the communication and language and content services that will tell the stories, that will sell the products to these markets. Also, India is becoming, let's call it, more middle class, more upwardly mobile. This is documented. Depending on the definitions that people give you, it can be anywhere from 400 million to 600 million people now that are defined as middle class in India. That means aspirations, wanting more products, wanting more consumer goods, starting their own businesses, creating their own businesses, becoming job creators, wanting new experiences, more travel, different cars, different products, different luxury goods. Does anyone remember when Burberry started to target China? And the whole of China went mad for Burberry, and their profits went way up. I'm not saying the same thing is going to happen exactly the same way in India, but certainly there's a growing middle class which is going to be wanting to spend money. And again, how are they going to spend money? Through the influence of content, whether it's video, marketing, advertising, emails, all of this kind of stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that you guys can be really good at composing and developing. Also, the middle class are going to have more global exposure, so they're going to want to go traveling more internationally, educate their kids abroad. They're going to want more global experiences and to bring them into India as well. And of course, the global influence of India will increase as well. So I think already year by year, India's influence globally is increasing. I think we're going to see that even more so. As a world power, I think we know that you guys are taking over. I'm not going to focus too much on this global trade. You guys already know that the amount of global trade is interesting. But if you're an LSP owner, for example, what I encourage you to do is look at the different verticals that are trading and ask yourself, what are the different content types that these companies are using either on their customer's journey or their employees' journey? And then ask, how can I work on those content types? How can I contribute? Also to understand the different stakeholders or personas within these companies to really understand their problems. This is a list of the industries that are, I hope this isn't too small for you guys to read. These are the industries that are projected to grow the most in India over the next few years. So if I was to ask you today, which LSP in India dominates the electric vehicle market, who would you tell me? Is there one? Is there any? So my challenge to you is, why doesn't somebody come up to the board and say, hey, I'm going to take electric vehicles? Or hey, I'm going to be the focus on renewable energy. Or hey, I'm going to be agricultural technology. What I'm saying to you is there's a chance for you to stand out from the crowd by specializing in a particular vertical. Now I know a lot of you are very capable of doing lots of different verticals. We know this because you've done it all of the time. But in terms of standing out from other competitors, there's an opportunity for you to focus in through your sales and marketing and talk the language of the clients in these industries and create brands that are going to attract people in these industries. The wider tech story as well, it's not just about AI in the translation industry, but AI, machine learning, big data is going to have a big impact on how companies create products as well. They're going to use predictive analytics to analyze trends and consumer behavior. They're going to use it to create rapid prototyping, rapid testing, to create personalized experience and recommendations, and autonomous product design. So people, in theory, companies are going to be creating products and offers faster than ever before. And that should drive a need for more and more content. Okay, maybe the content will be partially translated using AI, but there should be more and more content and more stuff to sell. You know, the list goes on in terms of what AI is going to be able to do. And then the 5G rollout, and in India and globally, is going to accelerate the delivery of these services and democratize these services as well. So smaller companies will also be able to use these AI capabilities to come up with new innovations. So hopefully we're going to see a new era of entrepreneurship and creativity. I mean, I think we're already seeing it, right? Because the pace of change in the last 5 years it always seems to get faster and faster, and more innovation and more innovation. So I think that trend is going to continue. And of course, 5G will allow more sophisticated customer experiences on personal devices, which you guys are way ahead of already in terms of the mobile world in India. So again, the fundamentals have not changed. Trade equals content, equals the story, equals the opportunity for you guys. The people in this room are the ones who can benefit the most from these opportunities. So the demand for our core function, the complexity we manage, and never forget that complexity, and our potential to provide solutions has never been greater. Technology exists. Yes, it's here. But it needs experts to harness its power. It needs experts to refine the results. You know, I think brands in general, they don't want mistakes in their output. You know, people see mistakes on websites or app stores or whatever it is, they're not going to buy the product. So the technology necessitates the need for us to evolve, but also opens up the opportunities to create value. So who are these experts? It's you guys. You are the experts in the room. And please, please, please remind your clients of that. They are not the experts. You guys are the experts. They're the people who have heard of AI, and they have people internally, and they can create an AI engine, but they're not going to be able to craft those stories and manage that complexity and create those conversions that they really need, that you guys are so good at doing. So what do I think Indian language service companies are going to do? So the first thing is, I think you guys are going to embrace change. I think you're going to get very, very familiar with the new technologies, and you will know exactly what they all are, whether it's MT, whether it's quality estimation, whether it's automated project management. You're going to develop new services and new solutions that you can offer to your clients, and new business models as well. Let's be honest, the price per word model is a little bit broken. It doesn't work for the translators anymore. The profit margin for the LSPs is not fantastic anymore either. And so we need to have new pricing models and new engagement models. I think you guys are going to be intentional. Hopefully you're going to listen to me and study the verticals that are growing and study the companies that are doing exciting things and pitch yourself to those verticals. Not just, don't just say I can do everything. Show people how you can be an expert in their particular field and use the demographics to your advantage, you know, in terms of marketing, in terms of hiring talent, in terms of also looking at these wider tech solutions and seeing how you can implement them in your companies. I know you're going to continue to lead tech innovation within the language industry. That's clear and apparent. And I know we're going to have some great presenters later on to talk about what they are doing. This educational aspect is super, super important. Unfortunately, there's a lot for us to keep up with, but we do have to keep up with if we want to maintain that status as a trusted advisor, as the expert in the room, you know? But Citlob and other organizations can help us to do that. We do, I think, I feel like we need to lead sales innovation as well. Sales and marketing is becoming more and more complex every year. People are busier, they have lesser attention spans, they don't answer phones, SEO, SEM is becoming more competitive. So we need to come up with different ways of standing out. Right now, the focus is on content and delivering valuable content that's going to attract people. I'm also a firm believer in building communities, so building communities of prospects or potential clients. Ecosystem selling. If I'm focusing on a particular industry, what is their ecosystem? Who are their tech partners? Who are their media publications? What events do they go to? Where they've been funded from? What government bodies and associations are involved? So I would map out the ecosystem of the verticals that you want to go after and put myself right in the middle. Turn up at the conferences, offer free education, do white papers, so different ways of engaging with the verticals and ecosystems. And above all, we have to get better at articulating our value. We don't provide translation. We manage complexity. We manage difficult challenges. We manage a whole range of them. And here you can see a list of things that we do every day, which is just our day-to-day, right? We do it all the time. And we need to emphasize the fact, whether it's content types, technical, multimedia, operations, vendor management, quality assurance, regulatory, translation assets, automation, all of this stuff, that's our bread and butter. We do it every day. The clients don't know how to do this stuff at the moment, and so let's not give them too much of an opportunity to. And then, so that's what I think you guys are going to do. And I have another slide, which is what I hope you're going to do. So number one, smaller companies, find a niche. Pick a sector or a vertical that you want to go after, preferably one that isn't already dominated by somebody else, and then dominate it completely. Create your brand. You can change your brand name. You can have a new brand name. Create your mini website and start creating content on a monthly basis. You have lots of translators who are able to write. Create content for the buyers that you want to target and push that content out through your social media, through your newsletters. Again, I would also recommend video content, webinars. If you can get your target clients talking to you on camera, your other target clients are going to see it. And they're going to say, oh, these people understand my space, they understand my industry, they know this person that I know. So for smaller companies, I would say to find your niche, embrace the concept of customer intimacy, which is basically knowing the customer inside out and providing specialized, customized solutions. They may not even be translation related. They may be, totally different solutions, but you're able to provide them because you know them so well and you have the resources, you have the technology. Secondly, larger companies, I feel, need to provide more leadership, need to provide more training and mentorship opportunities for the new generation of localization professionals. Whether it is, upskilling linguists in the language combinations that you need here or around the world. We are going to have a problem finding translators in the future if things keep on going the way they're going. In Europe, there's a lot of translators who just giving up because they're not getting the word rates that they used to get before. So there's definitely a community building exercise or a community maintenance exercise that needs to happen also for the underserved languages, for new locales or new markets that people want to go into, which are currently not being served well or where there's not enough resources. We need to offer more training and mentorship there as well, not only in language and translation, but also in terms of use of the different technologies and workflows and everything. And of course, to the upcoming generations, we want new blood in the industry, but we need to attract them. So how are we going to do that? We do need to promote the profession of translator or localizer. We're pretty good at promoting ourselves as an industry, but again, we've kind of mixed up the messages. We're like, hey, we can do everything. These big LSPs are able to do everything. This technology can do so much. And then we kind of, it's almost like we're putting less emphasis on the expertise of the linguists, you know? And we need the human to remain in the process, because if it's all done by a machine, then who gets the money? The machine? So I think we need to promote the professions more. We need to change the quality narrative. We need to say to our customers, look, do you want to be average? Do you want to be mediocre? Or do you want to be exceptional? If you want to be really, really good and stand out from the crowd, if you want to close deals, get new sign-ups, get people buying your $5,000 handbags, you know, then you need to use humans. You need to use a mix of the best technology and humans. So above all, bring clients back to their desired story. It's all about the client's outcome. And again, when we talk to customers on the discovery call, the first question should be, tell me about your business. What are the business outcomes that you've been charged with for this year or next year? What is your business trying to achieve? Then tell me about your team outcomes. What does your team need to provide? And then tell me about you as a person. How do I make you look good? And if you can get those answers from your clients, then you're going to be able to come up with really, really compelling proposals, and you'll make a champion out of the people that you're working with. I know there's a big emphasis on price negotiation in India, and it's a very hard market to increase prices or negotiate prices. But again, if we talk to the client in terms of business outcomes and supporting their wider business, we're not just giving them words anymore, we're helping them to achieve their strategic goals. That gives us more leverage and power in terms of stating our price. I do believe that there is an opportunity to create codes of good conduct and best practices. We kind of need to stop being cowboys and Indians. I'm not saying that you guys do it here. The biggest LSPs in the industry do it. They have corporate and sustainability practices, and then they come into their LSP partners and they say, we want you to half the rates. They don't care if inflation has risen. They don't care if there's been an earthquake and half the country has been battered. You know, these big super LSPs, I don't know, I feel there's a hypocrisy there which is not fair and it's not sustainable. So I think that there is an opportunity to always, again, think about the human person at the end of the line who needs to pay their wages, who needs to pay their salary, pay their mortgage, pay their electricity, fair treatment of linguists and external contractors. And then something just to bear in mind, India is now the largest population on the planet. And I know that there's amazing initiatives happening with green energy, some of them we just saw on the slides. But we do also need to think about how we're using AI responsibly, because all of this AI takes energy and takes resources and takes water, etc. And so we do need to think about, okay, is that an argument even to go to our clients and say, look, don't you use the AI, we'll do it for you in a responsible, controlled, energy-friendly way. So it's something to bear in mind. Finally, number 6 is dare to be different. Stand out from the crowd. Change your company name so that people can't forget it. Have a big, bright brand. Say something funny on your website, you know? There's a lot of translation companies in India. There's a lot of translation companies in the world. We need to stand out from the crowd. So play around with ideas, you know, try to make yourselves appear different from the other companies. Yeah, so that's, you know, this is my take on the story of the opportunities for Indian language service companies. I'm interested in your feedback. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.
Would anyone like to ask any questions?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
First of all, welcome to India.
Thank you very much.
And,
I'm really loving being here.
Yeah, the first slides where you gave the comparison, it was really heartfelt. And I was very surprised to see the kind of relation that you found in the two countries. So that was really great. Okay, so my question is, when you asked about this thing that, you know, say something funny on your website and this, and in the last part you said that you know, because we are a small company and we are starting to push ourselves and make ourselves on the map. Okay.
Yes.
So I wanted more, if you can give us more insights about how we can stand out, because we are facing these regular challenges, in terms of price, in terms of we are not able to find a monopoly or the USP through which we can, voice out.
And do you have a specific vertical focus at the moment, or do you do a bit of everything?
Right now, it was just translation and transcription, but in translation also, we are now going to focus on legal domain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because maximum of my, employees, they are also, they have done their they've done their bachelor's in they are advocates. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah. So
already you're a step ahead of many others, right? Because you've identified a vertical that you want to focus in. It's a vertical where you're always going to need a human, because you can't literally translate legal concepts from one jurisdiction to the other, right?
Absolutely.
So you're always going to need to have that human person there. What you need to do is come up with a brand name that basically says what you do. What's your company's name at the moment?
Suval Experts. Suval, S-U-V-A-L.
Suval Experts. Okay, so then it's Suval Legal Experts. You make people understand immediately from your brand, from your company name, exactly what it is. So it could be Suval Legal Experts, Suval Legal Solutions, Legal Language Solutions, Legal Language India, whatever it is. You want people to understand from day one, from the minute they see your name, what you do. And then you want your website to look like a law firm. So whether you're going to be Ali McBeal, or you're going to be Law and Order, or you're going to be Legally Blonde, I don't know. But you pick your persona and you say, I'm going to make my website look as attractive or as relatable as possible to the personas that I'm trying to attract. Right. So you need to look like a law firm. Right. And it's going to be very easy. You go onto the web and you see what law firms look like. Website design tools like Wix, etc., allow you to do that very, very easily. And then what you're going to do is you're going to publish content that is relevant to what these people care about. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I think we're going to talk about it again in the panel, about using AI, for example, to create customer personas. So you can use tools like Perplexity or ChatGPT to say, okay, I'm a lawyer in a law firm, what's important to me? And the difficulty with law, of course, is that it's unpredictable, right? So you don't really know if you're going to have repeat income from year to year. But what you can do is you can develop strong relationships with your potential buyers in, I guess, first of all, in your immediate locality, and then you can go wider afield, So in terms of standing out, I would make the name very, very clear what you do, potentially with a slogan or a tagline as well. I would make, again, we can't have old-fashioned websites anymore, people. This is 2024. People expect us to look a certain way and have a certain degree of design and aesthetic, So I would say make your website look like your buyers' websites and start talking about things that are going to appeal to them. It doesn't have to be always serious. I know one lady, I don't know if she's watching today, she's in Spain, but she writes funny stories about what happens in the law courts and with legal stories as well. And she sends them out on her newsletter, and people read them, people open them, and so they remember her brand, they remember her name, And yeah, we don't have to be serious all the time. Like, we're humans, and we're selling to other humans. That's very important to remember. That people buy from people, not from machines, or not even companies from companies, but it's people to people. And so if you can show them you understand them, show them you share the same sense of humor, you're already going to be very visible to them and remain atop of their mind, And of course, talking to them as well, getting them into meetings, holding coffee mornings or drinks or receptions for the legal community, partnering with other kind of legal events that are in the area, like really understanding their ecosystem and creating partnerships within it, I think is a good way to go. Does that help?
Yeah, perfectly. I think he has given 10 or 15 different ideas, so thank you so much.
My contact details were on the screen before if you needed help, but anyway, come to me, I'll give you my card as well.
Yeah, thank you. That really helped.
One of the things that we've been doing is I run a thing called, we do 2 clubs with my company. One of them is called Tech Club, which of course is about technology. I'm not in that one. And we have another one called Sales Club, which is where we have business owners who come together every week to talk about their different sales and marketing challenges, you know? And people find it very helpful to learn from each other. So maybe maybe we could set up something like that for the Indian language community as well. You're welcome. Happy to help. Anybody else want to say anything?
Hello, sir. I'm an automation developer.
Yeah.
So my question is basically to all the LSPs here. We are regularly talking on LLM, large language model,
Yeah.
AI, and automation. But when I see the workforce of the LSP, more they are focusing on the traditional PM job, where they create the timeline, track the work record of the linguist and all. But this all job can be done automatically.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need anything.
And that's
automation
your
develop-
job to educate them though, right?
Yeah, that's what I am saying. And most of them, like if they have 30 PMs, they have 10 engineers or 5 engineers. So they need to train their workforce. Like there are some new roles like localization solution architects who can create a better workflow by using the LLMs and AI. But still the LSPs are not focusing on that role.
Yeah.
Instead, they are focusing on the traditional PM role.
Because there's an element of fear, right? Humans traditionally don't like change. Like we're always looking for risks. Our ego is always looking for problems, you know? I think we can all agree that there is a need to keep educating ourselves and to keep evolving. Maybe, you know, Citlob could facilitate some kind of vote or some kind of survey and create some working groups who would take on individual topics and help facilitate that education. Whether it's about production issues, whether it's about technology topics or sales and marketing topics, or, you know, the various different things, you know, but I mean, the community is here in this room today. And that's one of the great things about our industry is that we believe in community, we believe in helping each other. So I think what you should do is offer a class, offer a course and teach these people.
Yeah, there should be option like LSP should come up with a workshop or seminar for the internal engineering team.
Yeah, but
Because there are-
yeah, I was going to say you could offer that, but also what you could do is you could reach out to universities and colleges as well and say, hey, I'm an expert in this field. We feel it's important that your graduates know about this stuff before they graduate. Let me come in and do a few guest lectures.
But sir, if
Yes.
they graduate, the LSP should offer them job, right? There is no certain jobs like localization solution architect as well. Like they have the localization engineering job. So it's not a, like it was a traditional engineering job, but now it has been changed. It like more in solutions in the localization.
I mean, I think that we know that the jobs that we have are going to evolve and change as well. And I don't know, like, it's very hard to, I mean, it seems to be a lot easier to solve problems when we are many rather than just one person, right? If I'm a small LSP and I'm the manager and all the problems are on my shoulders, you know, I'm dealing with everything. I'm dealing with all of, you know, the day-to-day running of the business, the finance, the HR, the strategy, etc. It's very difficult for me to be able to do everything. I am going to need more people, whether they are colleagues in the industry, whether they're people who can educate me, or whether they're new blood that comes into the industry. Now, I don't know how easy or difficult it is to hire and fire people here in India. You guys can tell me more. But we're going to need more people. If we want to grab those opportunities and evolve and maintain our profit margin, we need people to help us do that. It's not a machine-only scenario.
Thanks a lot, Robert. So when you were selling to the global corporates, from an Indian perspective and the story side, what we see is there is a, when global brands look at India, there is a perception that only English will suffice. Because when they are trying to sell, say, luxury goods to the top 1 million population or 200,000 clients or 2 million people.
Yeah.
There's a perception that only English will suffice. So have you seen in your sales journey, when you were selling, where customers asked for Indian language, or they want to actually penetrate to the last mile in India and requirements to culturally adapt their products, or what's the general perception there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends very much on the product categories and the industries and who they're trying to focus on, you know. I mean, think about the big clothing retailers like H&M or the Gap or whatever. They're not going to want to go only into English because they're mass market, you know. Okay, if we're talking Chopard jewelry, maybe it's, you know, English only. But again, I think the changing demographics, the fact that the markets in Asia and South Asia are getting bigger and bigger, the middle class is getting bigger and bigger. Why should they not expect to be able to go into a car show house and receive their car manual, not just in Hindi, but in other Indian languages as well? You know, because you guys are developing this buying power, developing this community, and I think the overall consumers will start demanding this, you know. Maybe it'll start in advertising, you know, marketing slogans and email marketing, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, okay, I need the instruction manual in my local language as well. I think it's something that's evolving, and I mean, you can see even with the horrible big tech giants that, you know, ruin everything for everyone. I mean, the Googles, the Metas, the Amazons, they are now targeting on, you know, they're targeting all of the languages in Southeast Asia, you know? So I think it's going that direction. So if there's no other questions, I just want to thank you all very much for listening.
So thank you, Robert. I think that was informative. I didn't know about this term Celtic tiger cub and all the, you know, geopolitical, economic history that goes with that term. You shared some lovely thoughts. Of course, you said some nice things about us Indians. We always like that, appreciate that.